Fellow ministers, old friends, especially those from Sabah, ladies and gentlemen. Joseph, I don't know how many times he thanked me in his speech. I lost count already. But before I came up here, my secretary just told me, I have agreed to give you the land. So there will be a decision before the end of the year, and it will be a positive decision. Number two, it is good that we meet with fellow Sabahans once in a while to show our common concern, to exchange views, and to make friends with one another. In my time as Chief Minister for the last over 2 years, we have made more than 50 decisions, which was accepted by the people, and that is why they voted this in overwhelmingly. And one of our principal decisions, one of our first decisions, is that we don't want the non-Malay Bumiputras, Iban, Dayu, Ragulu, Kadazan, to be referred to as lain-lain. That was an important decision. It is not just a question of wording. It is not just a question of nomenclature. It is a reflection of a dominating attitude to say that only Malays, Chinese, Indians, but others are all lain-lain. I am glad to the efforts of Joseph Pantulu and Douglas Huga when he was federal minister, that policy has been changed. We are no longer referred to as lain-lain in Sarawak and Sabah. In the last 53 years, there has been an erosion of our rights and privileges under the Kobol Commission report and recommendation, the Malaysia Agreement, the Intergovernmental Committee report and recommendation, and the Malaysia Agreement. I don't know what Donald Stevens or Tun Mustafa or Tun Juga or Tuanku Haji Bujang would have thought if they are still with us today. They were our principal officers way back 53 years ago. I don't know what they would have thought to what has happened today. I am sure they will not be very happy. So there's this constant erosion, and we are now trying to get back those rights accorded to us under the Malaysia Agreement. People now in charge in Kuala Lumpur were not even born then. That is 2 generations ago. And those officers in charge in Kuala Lumpur didn't even know there is such a thing as the Intergovernmental Committee report, Humboldt Commission, Malaysia Agreement, etc., etc. It is therefore our duty to remind them. And to do that, I have set up a committee of experts from Sarawak to look into the law and the Constitution. And the Prime Minister has agreed on his behalf to appoint a federal AG to talk to our state AG on these matters. So there has been progress on this matter. And I believe the same would go for Sabah. I would like to remind, with all due respect, that our people who are serving the federal government, our federal ministers, with great respect, to be insistent on our rights in Sarawak. To be insistent. I know I have been a member of the cabinet, federal cabinet, and if there is something that relates to Sarawak, I will speak up. I will always speak up. Whether we agree or not, you speak up. Because we don't like to be taken for granted. Because we are not a state within the Federation. Malaysia was formed by virtue of an agreement, not by way of annexation. That is why I insist that 22nd July be made Sarawak Independence Day, because that is the day when we achieve self-government, when one of the 9 cardinal principles of the Brooke regime, that they hold Sarawak in trust for the people of Sarawak, and that one of these days they shall rule themselves. That is a fulfillment of that undertaking. If the Japanese had not invaded us 3 months later, but I think the centenary celebration was September of 1941, the Japanese invaded us in December, we would have gone the way we did. So that is why we insist that this, just in honor of those people who fought for our independence, for our self-government. Not just to celebrate as a Sarawak Day, but also in honor of those people who are seldom mentioned nowadays because they died so many years ago, to remind us that there was a time 2 generations ago when we enter into an agreement. So there we are. I would like to remind us once again, and especially Sabah or North Borneo at that time, Malaysia Agreement was entered into between Malaya, signed by Tunku and Tun Razak, if I remember, North Borneo by Tun Mustafa and Donald Stevens, and Dusing, I think, a person named Dusing, I think. And of course, Singapore, Kuan Yew and Goh Keng Swee. Sarawak, Ling Beng Siu, Datuk Banda, Mengong Juga, Abang Haji Oping. So those are the things. Of course, all these people have gone now. But Sarawak Day will remind them, remind us of what they have done for the country. and to look out for what they had hoped for the country. The other thing is, you cannot deny that after 53 years in the Federation, we are still behind West Malaysia in infrastructure. I can accept it if we are still behind 10 years, 20 years, even 30 years, but not half a century, more than half a century. It's time for us to catch up. We are given so much time. Of course, there is our size. There is our size. It will take longer, of course, but not 53 years. And that is why I insisted on the so-called Borneo Highway for Sarawak. And I'm sure Musa Aman insisted on Sabah, Borneo Highway for Sabah. Because what the North-South Highway in West Malaysia did for the economy of West Malaysia, expansion of the economy, the multiplier effect is fantastic. So when the Borneo Highway is finished, in about 5 or 6 years' time, it will expand our economy and raise living standards. I also insist that priority must be given to Sarawak companies. If they cannot do it, then what to do, we can give it to other companies. But if they can, they must be given priority, including those companies associated with DCCI and so on. We cannot stand by and just look. We must participate. We cannot just stand by and look. We must participate. And the same goes with petroleum, with oil and gas. Even though we have a share in natural gas and all that, we could have a better share. And I question the question of the Petroleum Act, Petroleum Development Act, and so on. These are part of the negotiations that will carry on. It will take some time because the issues are complicated, but we will go very slowly. And I think we have the support of all the people on this one. This is one common ground. There is an upswell of common ground among us, even with the opposition, not just Barisan Nasional. There is a groundswell which we cannot deny and which we cannot ignore. Ignore it, you ignore it at your peril. So there you are. We will not, of course, we will never leave Malaysia. No, there's no such thing as secession. No, we will not. What we will do is to fight for our rights within the Constitution, within the Malaysia Act, within the IGC, within the Global Commission, and stay within the Federation. That is our future. Malaysia now, Malaysia before, Malaysia forever. That is our stand. So coming back to our assembly tonight, terima kasih lah. I quite agree with Joseph Salang. Even though Sandubong Mountain is much lower than Kinabalu, we don't have any earthquake. And we have Putri Gunung Santubong. If on Thursday night, kita pandai puja-puja, she will appear. And the old Malay story, you know the old story, this prince was going into the mountain, saw the princess taking a bath under the waterfall. The princess was so beautiful that the prince fainted on seeing her. So I don't propose that you faint at Santubong. But anyway, welcome again to Sarawak, to our friend from Sabah. You can drink whatever you want, but only after I leave, okay? Thank you.